Hi, everyone. Welcome to Beer Pro.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Marvel Crisis Protocol.
No, we're not Marvel Crisis Protocol. Try again.
Welcome back. Oh shoot! What is the Stanley? Welcome back, super fans. What is it?
There's not enough
I want to
alcohol
be
for this.
Harvey Keitel, but I've only heard Harvey Keitel talk like twice in my entire life.
Do it as the Ray Ray and the pigs.
Oh, okay, I got it.
No clue what you're talking about.
Oh, going back for this one.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw, boss! Welcome back to Beer Protocol. We are going to talk about Marvel's miniature game and the moving pieces and putting power tokens on, and it's going to be a whole slop hog of a time.
Yeehaw!
Get in here!
That came from extras in a role playing game that became more than extras. So welcome to Beer Protocol.
I have no clue what we're talking about.
Yeah, welcome to Beer Protocol. I'm James. I am drinking once again the Guinness Imperial Stout.
You found a new friend in
I
this blasted
did.
wasteland.
Well, it's not a very forgiving friend for James, though.
It's fine. It's fine.
I have also brought back an old friend. I have picked up some beers recently again, and I am kicking off today's episode with an old favorite, long missing, since returned.
Dark Hollow! God, Dark Hollow.
This is the Bourbon Barrel Aged Dark Hollow by Blue Mountain Barrel House, Virginia favorite of ours, and this particular beer is definitely one we have a long history of enjoying. So
go find it; it's amazing.
I'm bringing back an old favorite of mine. It's my sizer that I made.
Ooh, which one?
Nice.
It's apple mead. That's a sizer.
Oh, I think it says
so
cider.
I was gonna say, what is a Sizor? Because when you say Sizor, I picture a Bug and Steel type Pokemon.
That is very fair. No, a sizer is basically fermented apple cider with honey.
And who are you?
Oh, I'm Matt.
Wait,
hi.
It's apple. It's fermented apple cider, so it's cider with
Yeah.
honey. So it's almost like a bee sting.
Sure.
A bee sting is apple cider and mead.
Usually a lighter ale of some kind, or mead. Mead.
Yeah. So basically, it was 3 pounds of honey to a gallon of cider, and I used champagne yeast.
Nice.
So,
we're talking about the weirdest character in Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Probably the Brotherhood of Mutants that I don't think anyone was really super jazzed or excited for or expecting.
But Toad was my favorite fucking cartoon character in that show. I loved every minute of Toad.
Okay, back up. Really?
Yes, I thought he was hysterical.
I know nothing about Toad other than the cartoon and the movies where they made a horrible thing about him.
I mean, to be fair, he is the subject. Yeah, he is the subject of one of the immortal lines of early superhero cinema. Just the pitch perfect delivery of, "Do you know what happens when a toad is struck by lightning?"
Oh yeah,
the same thing that happens to everything else.
Yay!
And delivered just like that.
It was a good line.
Just delivered just like that too.
Okay, so Toad, Mortimer Toynbee. That's his name. Toad is a 5 stamina, medium movement, size 2, threat 2 model. I'm always excited for threat 2 models because they're cheap enough you can fit them in lots of lists, and they tend to do weird stuff. Because threat 2 models tend to only really be good for like one role on the table. But so far we've gotten a variety of threat 2 models that do a variety of things, from Okoye's bodyguard to Black Widow's objective focus to Wong's sort of empowerment of a key ally, as well as like some protection and sort of buffing.
He holds Doctor Strange's purse.
I mean, to be fair, yeah. So let's see what Toad does. For defenses, Toad has 3 physical, 3 energy, and 3 mystical. So he's 3s across the board.
Standard for
solid defense line. With 5 health and 3s for defense. He's not stellar defensively, but he does have some meat on his bones, and he's not going to. I doubt Toad would get one shot.
Oh no, there's no way.
Like I think it's definitely he'll last for a couple of hits, which is actually pretty good at this threat level. So his first attack is Tongue Lash, a physical attack, range 3, 4 dice, 0 cost. After it's dissolved, he gains power equal to the damage dealt. Again, cool. 4 dice is fairly weak for a basic attack, but he's got some decent riders. For his wild ability,
Well,
Push.
hold on. Four dice on a 2-threat character's basic attack is pretty normal.
It's also the weakest in the game.
Yes.
There is no basic attack with less than 4 dice. So both of our statements are true.
The best type of.
He's got you there.
But so this attack will generate power for Toad when it hits, and it probably will hit if you get against someone who's relatively sort of soft defensively. Like you could probably smack Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Should you smack Hulk with Toad?
No.
Yes,
No.
it's a game.
No.
Do it. Who cares?
No.
But if the character is size 2 or less, you might get a free push, and pushes are always cool.
Yep. Not bad for a basic attack, having an extra little wild thing on it. I don't see it being over the top, but once again, he's a 2-point threat character. It's a basic good attack.
I mean, yeah, you say this like Okoye isn't over here with like Flurry and firing off like 3 attacks and they gave it activation when she has some power on her.
Yeah.
I seem to remember people being genuinely distraught when Okoye dropped half of Hulk's health in a single activation, and they're just like, "That's not cool. Your 2-threat model should not be stabbing half the health away on my 6-threat model. That's not cool."
So
I
tell us about
all the time when I play other games, but that's just how it is.
It's dicey.
So yeah, don't underestimate even the low threat characters for combat ability. Like everyone can hit. That's an important thing in this game. Even Wong, who only has a single attack, can still hit.
Yep.
All right, his second attack, Spit Acid, range 2, 5 dice, cost 2. After this attack is resolved, the target character gains the Incinerate special condition. So this is kind of interesting. As a reminder, Incinerate says that whenever you would make a defensive roll, you roll 1 fewer die.
That sounds good.
It is very good. And since it costs an action to get rid of, a lot of times your opponent's just gonna be like, it's actually too inefficient to get rid of this.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna suck it up and deal with it. I like this a lot. Like Toad is not meant to be doing damage. That's not his job. But he does have, if he finds himself in melee with someone and he's got 2 power, doesn't matter if he deals damage or not, he can tag them with a pretty potent debuff and then skedaddle out of there.
Yep. Actually, I would probably do this in the reverse. Especially if you're in combat with somebody, I would go ahead and do the Spit Acid and then do the Tongue Lash. For later on things also, because if you have the 2 power and you can do the Spit Acid, you're dropping them for using the Incinerate, you're dropping them by 1. The 4 dice then becomes a little more powerful, and you can push them away short at the end of it. It's not a bad combination.
Okay, so let's take a look at the superpowers. So Toad has Finders Keepers
This
for
is
2
amazing.
power.
It's an action.
Action. Choose an allied character within range 2 of this character. Move 1 asset or civilian token the chosen character is holding to this character. This character is now holding it. This character may not hold more tokens than the crisis specifies. So, say you have someone who's on the last couple of health, and they have an objective marker, you'd really rather not lose it. Toad can just, as one of his actions, grab it, move it to him, who probably has full health, and then leave. And use his other action to just walk away.
The affiliation for Syndicate. Same thing? Is it within 2?
For Crimmins? Crimmins?
For the Crimmins? Crimmins, yes, the Crimmins Syndicate.
I don't know off the top of my head, so let me go find our boy Kingpin and look at his card.
While you're looking that up, so this is actually really good. It does take an action, which is if you're thinking about doing anything else, I'm not sure it's a good idea to grab a token and then try to run off. There is other ways of getting him to move after he's got the token, like slippery hop, that kind of stuff. You'll find that Toad is a very mobile character, but this is kind of I would say this is almost a Wakanda Herbs type deal with how many times he can actually move. Just grab, like having somebody grab it, move. Next round, have Toad grab it and run.
So, for reference, the leadership ability for the Criminal Syndicate affiliation is range 3. They can spend 2 power to use the leadership ability to move an asset or civilian token held by the active character to someone else within range 3.
So if you're running Toad
Um,
and Syndicate, it's pretty much not very
I was
good.
going to say, Syndicate's ability is way better than this because it doesn't cost an action.
Yeah.
Well, but that also means you could, if you have Toad in here, move a objective marker in a course of 2 turns 5 spaces away.
Yep,
Yes,
he is
that's true.
correct.
That's
If
true.
Toad is the active
It-
character, he can grab from one person and then use the Syndicate ability for another 2 power to shuttle it along to someone else.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah,
Good
you could literally
going,
take it
noob.
from one end of the board to the other, like that.
Good
That's
going,
fair.
noob. Look at him being all like stealthy
That's
smart.
Yeah.
This isn't
Ja-
happening.
James complimented me. This is the first time.
Edit, 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 edit.
Must drink.
So his next power is Hop. Places character within 2 of his current position. It can only be used once per turn for 2 power. Not bad. Good little extra movement. It is a place, so you're not actually like running over top of buildings or anything like that. Kind of nice.
His last power that's active is a reaction called Slippery. Costs 2 power. After an attack targeting this character is resolved, if this character is damaged, it can use a superpower, in which case they advance M. Or they advance medium. So he gets a free move out of his activation by spending 2 if he's damaged by an attack.
So, um, if this character was damaged by the attack, that's kind of a good stipulation because there's a lot of things that,
Oh,
like,
actually, sorry. There's another stipulation. After an attack targeting this character. So
yes,
splash damage will not trigger this. So like Iron Man's missiles that do 1 damage to things within a radius of the target, or a few other things that will just strike out at nearby targets will not trigger this. But a beam attack or an area attack or things like Captain America's bouncing shield will trigger Slippery because they have to target Toad.
well, it's nice. I mean, he still has 5 health. This is a pretty good
Yeah, he'll likely
response.
get to use this.
Um, it is. It's interesting. You could use this to go forward. You can use it to go back. Especially with wall crawler, moving a medium is pretty dang powerful, especially outside of your activation. So
And it's worth mentioning as well if someone really is like trying to go for the win, because not all scenarios, for example, require a limit on how many tokens you can hold, like hammers, for example.
mhm.
Like say or cube fragments is another good example. So
Man,
like
him just
say
loading up would be amazing.
I wouldn't use it to attack. No. I would have him carry all the hammers and then run away with them
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
never be seen again, guaranteeing you 2 to 3 points depending how many hammers you manage to shove onto Toad. That your opponent has to chase him to stop you from scoring.
Just running around with a backpack full of hammers.
You know what's actually kind of difficult to do?
Running with a
Chase
backpack full
Toad.
of hammers.
Dude, chasing Toad's insane. Like,
Okay, Toad's last powers we haven't mentioned are his passive abilities. 1, Prehensile Tongue, unique to him. It's definitely a reason to consider him.
yep,
This character may interact with objective tokens within range 2 instead of the normal range 1.
that
For
is
like a
awesome.
physical, if I was smart, I would have had like the physical sticks with me. Um, range 2 is a little more than double range 1 because the sticks are not strictly 1-inch increments. Range 2 is a big noticeable difference over range 1. So it is worth noting this does say objective tokens, does not name a specific type. This is just all objectives. So Toad cannot contest at a further distance, but if a stationary crisis objective has an interaction rule, like the extremist terminals allowing you to heal someone within 2, Toad can activate that from
Oh,
further away.
didn't even think about that. He's just slapping it with his tongue from like 2.
Some I'm
He's
trying to
pretty
remember.
good.
Yeah,
Like if you want to play with objectives, and finally Toad's last ability is Wall Crawler,
wall
which
crawler.
gives him a lot of mobility on the table. So looking at it in total for a 2-threat model, I think you get a model with a lot of movement rules. Um, kind of an okay attack with Tongue Lash.
Actually, really quick,
Um,
his wounded side.
oh yeah, is there any
Yes,
new
the only thing
bits?
I can really see that he's changed is it looks like he goes down to 3 health.
Which is absolutely a one-shotable distance.
That
So
that's he's not going to be good. That's why he's a 2-point character. He gets
yeah,
really banged up and he's not going to last long.
yeah, Toad loses a lot of his effectiveness once he's wounded, or his potential effectiveness.
Dear
Um,
God, he's nice.
but I think this is actually like a nice core package of abilities. Interacting with objective tokens that you can pick up from further away can be really nice, especially when he comes in or he starts his turn. He snaps up the available objectives and then gets out of there.
Hmm.
Um, he doesn't have any abilities like stealth. I think stealth might have been too much on this model, but I think Toad can in the early stages of battle before there's a lot of objectives in play. I think Toad can throw spit acid around to drop your opponent's defenses, make it soften them up for the rest of his team. He could use tongue lash to maybe late in the round get lucky and push someone off an objective.
Yep.
His hop will help him get some non-action movement involved. And if it looks like one of his allies is about to go down or lose an objective token, he can snatch it off of them and keep moving.
Now, I see the prehensile tongue is actually a really nice addition to that he has, because uh, objects like the Kree infiltrators,
Mhm.
where like you're not sure if there's anything underneath it, he can interact at 2, which means you're not standing directly on top of the thing when you're having to do the checks. I think
And
with Spider People is another. The Spider Outbreak is another one of
yeah,
those.
even if even like certain things, I'm trying to think of a good example. If he has like 3 power, he can interact with it and then use hop to move back a few spaces back into cover if he had to
Hmm.
leave cover, for example. Or he could use hop to get close enough out of cover, interact with it. If it's a token that he can pick up, like a civilian token, he's now a little further away from where it was, and he can use his actions to move or get into a better position or get back into cover. And Toad only being size 2 means there's probably a decent amount of things he can hide behind to
Yep.
block line of sight and to block cover. Like I don't see Toad as an offensive piece necessarily. Black Widow is as like I think the most similar thing we have right now is Black Widow in both her 2 threat and 3 threat versions as a very specifically like objective piece. Like Black Widow with stealth will go off to a distant secure objective and just sit on it, or she'll run out and try to grab tokens and bring it back to the rest of your team, and just kind of hang out in your back arc and be hard to get at with stealth. I think Toad can kind of do that job a little better since he can literally reach out further and grab things, and he has a little more of an active game plan in terms of being able to take tokens off of his allies.
Yeah,
I
Slippery's. Oh god.
I would say I actually feel like he pairs up really well with Taskmaster because it all of a sudden popped in my head when we were talking about it. Because I remember when we talked about Taskmaster, we kept talking about, well, he does what he needs to do, but he can't really play the missions. Well, now Taskmaster can play the missions with
Yeah.
Toad, and it
So
makes
like
a lot of his
Taskmaster,
stuff. Well, the Taskmaster, because he can sit there, pick up the objective, and hold something off for Toad to get there. They're both incredible criminal syndicate, so you can
mhm.
pass.
Is Toad in Criminal Syndicate? I don't
Well,
think he
well, I
is.
mean, you
Well,
can put him in
you can put him
criminal
in the list.
You
syndicate,
can
yeah,
take him. You can take him. Yeah.
and so you can make it so all that works. And then Taskmaster actually doesn't look terrible because then he can actually hold a spot and allow for Toad or any of the support characters to get away,
It's not a bad
do what
idea.
he needs to do.
Just use him kind of like as a uh, kind of like shuffling the football. Like he
Yeah,
picks it up and goes, "Okay, cool. What are you gonna do? Here,
you're
catch."
literally just pitching it back.
Um, so I also see this being it puts people in a bad position. I've been in several games where it comes down to I have to contest this objective, and now with Slippery, you have to make a choice. Okay, I'm sitting on the objective. I can target Toad, which if I do wound him, there's a possibility if I don't kill him straight out or flip him, he's gonna move a medium.
Hmm.
contesting the point that I'm sitting on. Medium is a pretty long distance. With his hop, he can get to pretty much everywhere he wants to go. He is
and wall crawler.
and
Like, can you hop? Can you hop and still be able to move and do wall crawl or wherever you want?
So hop is a place effect, so it
Yeah.
pretty much ignores terrain for that one.
Yeah,
It's not an
but
advance.
that's
But
slippery.
so does wall crawler.
Mhm.
So he literally can get to anything he wants.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
He's definitely a. I don't want to say he's an objective grabber. He is. Like, because always say the 2-point characters have a job.
Mhm.
I don't think he's an objective character. I think he's a harasser. I think he wants to move, contest objectives, grab objectives, hold them for a few seconds, and then get somewhere else. He's going to be hunting for people carrying the other objectives. He wants to do just enough damage where they have to drop the objective token. Now he's within 2 of it, he can grab it.
It feels very much
I
like
mean,
a
I
legalized
guess.
character who runs up the middle and distracts the environment.
Yeah,
I don't know
don't
if
put him in the middle.
that's. Yeah, I don't know if that's how I'd play him. So, with the point of him doing enough damage, his damage output's really low. I don't think he's gonna. Even if someone's got like 2 health left, if they have like 3 defense, I don't know if Toad can pop them. You need a spike. And with the point of Toad being able to grab the tokens they drop from further away, I think it's also kind of moot simply because you get to choose where they land within 2. Like you already get to move the tokens up to range 2 away from them when they drop, and
Okay.
you get to choose where they land. Like I've never had issues putting them right next to my guys if I want to pick them up that same turn.
Okay, I can see that.
Like I think like the only time that would really kind of apply is if you had using a ranged attack like Hawkeye.
So where do you see
But
him in the game? How do you see
I
him being placed?
I think a big part of it is his ability for finders keepers is he can only take from his allies. He cannot give objective tokens away unless he's in criminal syndicate. So Toad is all take, no give. He wants all the objective tokens. He can't give them away. The only way they're coming off of him is if he gets wounded. So I think I see Toad as kind of jumping around, harassing where he can. Like harassment's not a bad. Also, yeah. Prog pun. Harassment's not a bad route for him, but once there are objective tokens on the ground, I think what Toad wants to do is grab as many as he can and then stay the hell away from your opponent for as long as he can.
So he's kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog, where he just gathers up all the rings and then you hit him, and he just like.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think an ideal Toad game is that's going to happen.
But
Well,
I mean,
so like if
he-
Toad,
Go ahead.
sorry, yeah, if Toad has, like, say you're playing a set of crises with civilians, where it starts as a secure and then it flips into a civilian token that you investigate, and now it's something to be picked up. And Toad has one of those. Toad has the other crises objective, so Toad is carrying 2 points every round for you.
That's
And
true.
now
Yeah.
all you have to do is not let him get hit, and those are your points, or not let Miles Morales anywhere near him. Miles Morales, I think, is Toad's mortal enemy.
What does he do?
So
Again?
He's
Miles Morales' powerful attack can force an opponent to drop all their objective tokens they're holding on hit.
Well, couldn't because of how the game works. Can't you pair the 2 of them together on the same team?
You could, which would be a
Oh,
potentially deadly 1-2 punch.
That is a deadly 1-2 punch. I didn't even think about that.
Where Miles forces them to drop them, Miles scoops them up. Toad then is nearby on his turn. He grabs at least one of those tokens and then yeets off. Actually, to be fair, Finders Keepers does not say it can only be used once per turn.
No.
So Toad could use both of his actions to grab objective tokens and then count on his health pool and his pretty decent defenses to be able to take a hit and then use Slippery to get away. But I kind of see Toad as
Dang.
being, when you
That's-
come down to the end of a game and you are just a few points away from winning or losing, and it comes down to you need to knock out this model to force them to drop the tokens they're holding to deny your opponent the victory points so you don't lose. That is where I think Toad shines, because you're going to hit him and he's going to be like, oh, I'm going to move now. I'm sorry, did you not have any more actions to pursue? Does that kind of give the game to me? Simply
Oh.
because you can't catch me?
Oh, you shot me with your long range attack at a 4 range or a 3 range. I just moved medium. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. that's kind of where I see Toad. Now, is that going to be a game plan that works every time? Probably not, because there's a lot of variables. What crises are in play? Is it going to be stuff that Toad can effectively pick up? If
If
your opponent,
if you're bringing Toad, your two objectives, at least one of your objectives, should be very heavy laden with objective tokens that he can pick up multiple of, like hammers.
yeah, I think Toad is definitely one of those two threat characters. I wouldn't plan to take him every game. You could always just have him in your roster, and then when you see that there is a civilian secure crisis and an asset extraction crisis, and you're like, this would be a good map for Toad. Let me just slot him in there.
I kind of
Uh,
really
I
now want to bring him into Syndicate and like as a 2 point just slot in if needed to be.
I think he actually could have some interesting interactions with Criminal Syndicate. Um, the other like objective focused affiliation, Web Warriors, I think Toad might be interesting there too. Because Web Warrior's ability lets him reroll skulls when he's contesting or holding an objective token.
That
Um,
would be nice.
the problem with that being though is again Toad isn't really an offensive powerhouse. He has solid defenses, so I could see his defenses getting a benefit, especially since I think the Spider affiliation lets you always reroll at least one defensive die.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I
Um,
don't. While I don't see him as an extreme offensive, and I don't see him extreme defensive, he's definitely the character you kind of leave protected in the midfield to just be a pain in the ass and ask questions, simple
Mhm.
questions. But if you ask enough simple questions, you can't
Yeah.
answer them all.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
well, now all your front lines got incinerate on it. Well, now you're all easy to hit for my blasters, like I was mentioning Taskmaster. Awesome.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
I mean, that's a
Now
good.
he's got to pick up the thing, so I could do that, and I could run away with the token. Deal with it.
That's
It's
actually
just
not a bad idea. Also, is using him just to pass out Incinerate.
If that's solid, you run the risk of losing him pretty early. But a lot of lists that like that also have defensive measures in place. So Toad, I really appreciate
well,
that at least on his healthy side, Toad is not terribly squishy.
but I mean, are you really risking him that much with his movement shenanigans?
I mean, only
Because
one
you can
good
you can
hit will
move
take him
up,
out.
I
you can shoot, and then you can bounce
yeah,
the fuck back
I
or
feel like
hop back.
three good hits in a game will take Toad out.
Yeah, but if you can line him up to where he needs to be to block line of sight, he's got the hop plus he's got wall climber, so
Mhm.
you can have him out, you can hop him out, which that's not an action, right? Or am I not?
No,
I don't know
No,
the
it's
rules.
hop is not an action.
that's actually
So
yeah.
you can hop him out, shoot his thing, and then literally wall climb back behind the wall.
Yeah,
Potentially, yeah.
yeah. Do
But
the
what I'll
move.
point out is Spit Acid is range 2, which is the closest range you can get. So
True,
Toad has to get close.
true.
And once he's within that closer range, a medium movement is still going to leave him within attack distance of pretty much everybody. So
Yeah.
unless you have like an actual building or solid obstruction, um, pretty much the entire cast can just move and hit Toad.
Could he be our first 2 point character that is has can have multiple roles depending on the situation?
Yeah, I think Toad's a really interesting piece. Like of almost of all the Brotherhood of Mutants, I think he is the one I kind of see jumping across affiliations the most, just because he kind of does unique things. Like I think it is kind of a semi-common problem for your front line to drop someone. They drop a bunch of objective tokens. You don't want to give your opponent a chance to pick those up again, so you scoop them up. But they're also on characters that may not really be optimized for it. Like, oh, cubes. I don't necessarily want my frontline person to be taking damage each phase and making my opponent's job easier. Toad can kind of swing in and take those off your hands and then move to the back line with them, where it's less of a big deal.
Yeah,
Or at the very least, when Toad goes down, his cornucopia of tokens exploding out of his body will be in your backfield, as opposed to being on the front line, and your opponent's going to still have to go get them.
hmm. I mean, also him being thrown into say Avengers, all his powers now cost one less.
Yep.
So like Slippery costing one is amazing. Um, Cabal, don't see him like other being an objective runner. Wakanda, I don't see him
Yeah,
being a good
Cabal.
ad.
Yeah, Cabal wants people who are going to be doing damage consistently to benefit from the bonus, and I could genuinely see missions where Toad throws out like a couple spit acids, but otherwise doesn't really make a lot of attacks.
Yeah, I think really where he's going to shine is Brotherhood of Mutants, definitely.
Well, I don't. I have a thought about that.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. So I played a quick sort of trial game of Brotherhood of Mutants, and what really kind of fascinated me is right now in terms of like an affiliation health, Brotherhood of Mutants has a super heavyweight with Magneto, just bonkers powerful.
Okay.
Sabretooth is an incredible frontline combat piece with good counterattacks, good health pool, good defenses. So you have heavyweight, frontline combat, and then you have Mystique and Toad, who are both stealthy, mobile objective pieces. And that's what confused me, because of the four initial mutants, is that Mystique and Toad kind of overlap a lot. Like Mystique is kind of like Black Widow with a few extra Mystique themed abilities.
Hmm.
Um, so I know there's more mutants coming. Like they've already revealed there'll be more mutants for these affiliations coming. It's one of the reasons why I was confused by Toad coming out right now. Is I feel like Brotherhood of Mutants kind of needs a few more bodies to round off the edges. They have super heavyweight, frontline, and then all like side runner people. Like Sabretooth's a good frontline, but not by himself. And Magneto wants to be like solidly in the next rank behind him. And I don't know if like just those two in the affiliation. Like right now, I think Brotherhood can just import heavy hitters from other affiliations and be fine.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to play like a Brotherhood specific list, then you have. It feels like you have one more objective piece, one more objective unit that you really need.
So really, what it comes down to is if you're looking for a objective runner, you're looking for a person to steal objectives, not actually hold like points, but actually just grab stuff and run away.
Big clarification. Um, Toad cannot take objectives off of enemy models.
Right.
I've had a couple people seem I had some people confused on that point.
Um, Toad's kind of like a good 2 point throw in there for those
Yeah.
reasons. Um, I would say better than Black Widow, for that spot. Uh, Definitely different from Okoye. Um, Other 2 point models.
Don't help him.
I can't even think
Wong,
of any
you
other
said
2 point
Wong.
models.
Wong's a 2 point
Wong, but
model.
Wong is so specific about what he can do. Uh,
So
I think he's actually. I think he might be dropped in my list as like one of my two pointers.
so there is one tactics card I wanted to mention.
Okay.
There are 3 tactics cards associated with the Brotherhood of Mutants. Of those, sorry, there's 4 technically. Of those, one is Mystique's, and another one is Magneto's. So irrelevant to Toad. One is the semi-generic The Books of Truth. When an allied Brotherhood of Mutants character is attacking or defending, at the end of modified dice, before you calculate success, you can pay 2 to re-roll all of the dice, including skulls.
Not
So
bad, but not good
it's an
for Toad.
interesting tactics card. If it's, I think it belongs with like when there's just a critical attack or defense you need to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
This is in your back pocket. The one that is relevant to Toad, and I thought might be interesting, is Asteroid M. 2 Brotherhood of Mutants characters can both spend 2 each to play this card. Place one of the 2 characters not holding an objective token within one of the other character. So it's a teleport with
Hmm.
no range requirement between the 2 characters. So Toad is often not going to be the person teleported because he wants objectives. But Toad could be a really interesting anchor point to use for anyone else to teleport.
Oh my God! You hit Toad on your
True.
turn. Toad moves medium forward, and suddenly you have a Sabretooth in your friggin' backyard.
So I think
Yeah.
Toad could be a really interesting like teleportation lightning rod with Asteroid M. Is you could use him because Toad's abilities are relatively cheap. Like I don't know what Toad does with like 6 power.
Uh, Hope he gets hit and move around a lot.
Exactly. Toad doesn't have any like sort of like game ending or game changing abilities to punch with. So I think
Yeah.
tactics cards is a good way to use Toad's power if he has it, and Asteroid M I think would be a particularly good one.
Yeah, that is actually a really good. Is that only 2 Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, or is that
Only 2 Brotherhoods, so it can only be
okay?
used with the other 3 Brotherhood members right now. But yes, moving Sabretooth or Like, say Toad goes chasing an objective and then teleports Mystique in to deliver on that objective during Mystique's turn, or he teleports. I think also getting people out of a bad situation is he could use this to get Magneto out of being surrounded by 3 people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think this is just gonna be one of those cards that's gonna be how you play it. But I think Toad would be a pretty good candidate for one of the 2 people in this card.
I like him.
I
And
really enjoy him.
I don't want
that's
to
the
like
final
Toad.
word on that.
I don't want to like Toad. Once again, I got a whole thing about like I didn't like the X-Men comics. I didn't like the X-Men. I am really considering like okay, his model pain in the butt, absolute pain in the butt.
His like tongue like wrapped around him.
No,
What do you
it's
mean? You
like
don't like tongues?
the little like armband things around his arm. It's like they're all small pieces. And his tongue is actually cracked on me. So,
So
um,
it's like putting together a Malifaux model.
yeah, kind of.
Time for green stuff.
Ugh.
Yeah, if I can get green stuff,
I told you I'd mail you green stuff.
I know.
I'll
Right.
mail you stuff that is green.
Great. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like, go ahead, like, subscribe, the whole nonsense. Also, we do Twitch streaming on Sundays and Wednesdays, so please join us for that.
I was really concerned you were going to forget that when you started to like pull for those names. I'm like, it's Wednesday and Sunday. Wednesday and Sunday, buddy.
It's
I was about to
close
tell him
enough.
it's today, James. It's today. Realizing this is going to drop not today.
All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. Game off.
Game off.
Bye.